Yeah, superintendent's recommendation for the mowing bid is Leggett's Contracting.
Motion, Mr. Garside, second, Mr. Bell. Any discussion? All in favor? 5 vote for the record. Charles County Public Library request.
I think it was in your packet, and this is an annual thing. What is it, like 2 or 3 grand? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Second. Mr. Bell, made the motion. I'll second it. All in favor? 5 vote for the record. Town of West Union Sewer Project.
They're going to come to the next meeting, and what it is, I'll just tell you, in this section of town, there's going to be a, I don't want to say major, a pretty good sized sewer line going right up on this side of the road. So it will affect a little bit of our property. And I asked them, Jeff and I met with the 2 engineers and with Mr. Cross, the city department, what's that been, a couple weeks ago? And I asked them to come to a board meeting during this month to let you all know what was going on in case y'all had any questions. So they'll be here on the 19th.
They did say it was a year, probably a year out.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned
So
that.
it wasn't right away.
Actually, it probably will help us, improve a couple things with us too, when they do it a year from now. We need West. Gary, would you go see?
You want to hold the Town of West Union Sewer Project, or you need a motion?
No, there's
Is a motion information?
Yeah, it's going to be
Is it
information.
money, is it?
no, it's not.
No, just
It's
information.
them going to be on the property here, digging into it. So
I mean, I think we should give them permission.
basically, they're separating stormwater and sanitation.
Need for special education in Orange County Elementary School, Superintendent Kaufman.
Yeah, I've asked him to go get Wes, and the reason why is, we had a 2nd grade student who, what, 3 or 4 days, how long have they been here, Jeff? Less than a week, let's put it that way. Pretty severe, and it's going to require, by special ed code, that we have a 1-on-1 aid. So I just wanted Wes, I told him, we talked about it a couple times in the last 2 or 3 days, and he said he would give you all a little bit more information about what it is and why, and so on and so forth.
We had anyone that would rift out of a position like this?
No. In fact, all the stuff that we did, probably in May, we'll be able to rescind those, right? Yeah, we'll end up not losing any. That was a good question, huh?
This is the formula we have to do, right?
Yes, okay. Mr. Rizal, if you don't mind, remember we talked about the need for an additional special ed aid. If you don't mind, just give us some details of who showed up and what we need to do.
We just have a student that has needs that we need to meet, and at this point, we feel like hiring a special education aide is going to be what we have to do to meet the child's needs. So
Is that for this school year or next?
the student just enrolled, and so we needed to do it now, so we can't wait. So what we're doing right now is we have a substitute in that position, and Mr. Kaufman is checking to see what else we need to do further than that. But other than that, you can't control students that you receive, so that's where we're at with that.
Mr. Bell made a motion to approve.
Thank you, Wes.
Second. Second, Mr. Pagan. Any discussion? All in favor? 5 vote for the record. Athletic Director request, Superintendent.
Yeah, we're going to put that on hold. I'm still getting bids, and I want Wes to comment on this, and Jeff too. We've got a pretty serious need for something to be used for the football field, the track, the baseball field, the softball field. We don't even have a full, we need to get a side-by-side or something, just to be able to allow Mr. Butler to do what he needs to do. So I've got 1 bid, 2 more coming, and we'll bring him in, let him talk about it the next meeting, and then we'll make some kind of I'll make some kind of a recommendation. But we're probably talking 8 or 9 grand, best I can tell, if the board would approve that. Just so you know, that's what the request was. Anything, Wes, you or Jeff want to add to that?
I mean, we've just been, like the softball field, we use our own equipment, so, but, there is a need for, you think about carrying lime, and sandbags, and, you know, all that stuff from out there all the time, it gets, you know, to be cumbersome, so. You think about football field, you think about track, and carrying all the paint, and all the stuff that you need for that, there is a need for it, so.
Just about everywhere, like Hickory, Richie's always had one, a gator. I mean, everywhere I've been, and you can ask Gary too, and Harrison, you just have to have something. Years ago, Albert Ash donated an old golf cart, and we used it for a while, and then it went for 2 or 3 years, and it went kaput. But that's all we've ever had, to my knowledge.
Question. We'll need a trailer for this, right?
If we get a side by side, probably not. If we got a 4-wheeler, we probably need a little trailer.
On that little track.
We have.
We do?
If it's
Oh, we have a little trailer? Okay.
If it's not, then, like I said, Mr. Murray, maybe something to look at, get a trailer to pull it.
Some of the ones that we looked at, the wheelbase would fit on the trailer we have.
Okay, so you already have it.
I mean, with that particular style, the wheelbase is small.
The trailer could do 2 purposes.
Oh, you meant the whole one, I see. I thought
You
you
can
meant
haul,
the whole.
unless you can pull.
I was thinking about the wrong
Yes.
thing.
Trailer to haul.
The whole one with you.
But then they could use another purpose, when side by sides, they have an inch in the back, so you can actually pull the lime, fertilizer and stuff on the fields too.
Yeah, we-
So
we're
you
talking
could
about 2 different
use-
things there.
Well, you can do it for 2 purposes.
Yeah, that's true. Good. If it's the right size, right?
Yeah.
And I agree.
The aluminums are linked for fields.
So you think you'll bring the bids to the next meeting?
If that's okay with you all. Yeah. And again, based on what I'm seeing, you know, even if they give it to us at cost, which I think they will, just to get their name on it, you know, since Daughters County will be using it, probably still 8 or 9 grand, or maybe a little more.
Should we get bids? Next is date a special meeting for interviewing new superintendent, possible employment. So we're looking at a date that works with the Board of Education.
What did you have to do?
I don't have any, I can work on all the, no traffic. I can do traffic.
Sure, we can do it. They don't have one next Thursday.
And, let me rephrase that.
Maybe Friday.
Friday's the play, Thursday's we're preparing for it, so any day besides that. Any meets next week?
I don't have a
Do
schedule.
you have anything on Tuesday?
I don't have it.
There's the meet on Tuesday, and the meet on Friday, and Saturday.
Oh, Wednesday during the day.
So Tuesday,
I think it's during the day.
I can do that. You guys, Mrs. Page,
I can do Wednesday.
Mr. Bell? You guys have-
sure.
Unless she's,
You're laid up now, right?
Unless I get my MRI.
Do 1 o'clock here.
that's,
All right, so.
You want us to advertise for that then, 1 o'clock Wednesday?
we're going to review all
Well,
applicants.
that'll be our next one, review here a little bit. That's the sign. I guess it's just one.
Is that on you?
Oh, no, I don't know that there is. We just put that on
That's
that
the reason I
via your
asked.
text.
President, that's the reason I asked. It's on here anyway.
I've got age under information.
Usually under informational items, not any action or. It's just for information.
Did we decide on 1 o'clock on the 13th?
Wednesday the 13th. Yeah, that's what they said.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion on 1 o'clock.
I second.
13.
All right, just want to contact all 4, Fifth Pleasure Board. We'll contact all 4, Fifth Pleasure Board, and contact 4 applicants.
All 4.
And that's what we're gonna decide
If I had a preference, I would exclude
on. Let's,
the out-of-state applicant.
just in case we have to mention names or anything, you want to go to executive session?
I don't need to mention names, I just say the out-of-state applicant.
I personally wouldn't want to exclude him, but I would like to exclude one of them, Emerson.
Executive session.
You need to go to executive session.
Mr. Bell made a motion to go executive session. Here, second.
Yeah, second.
Mr. Burns, any discussion? All in favor?
No, we can do this, we can go through the rest of the agenda and go into executive after that if you like.
It's a pleasure.
Sure.
All right, sounds like a good idea.
Well, I'm gonna ask to go ahead and get one more time.
Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to hold for our executive session today, especially when we're going to talk about the process here.
Can we go ahead and just set the meeting then?
It's Tuesday at 1 o'clock, is that what we got?
April 13th, right?
Wednesday.
I'm sorry, Wednesday?
April 13th,
April
1 p.m.
13th at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, this location right here.
We have to vote on that?
Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
it.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone else second? Mrs. Cottrell, all in favor? Aye, so that is 5-0. Summer maintenance proposal.
I'm gonna let Jeff mainly talk about this, but you probably remember in our past that we've always had a summer work program. And the state funding, in fact, last year we were the last county in the state to do it. It's completely dried up. So we won't have that. And those young people got a lot more work done than you'd really think. Also in the past, you know, like last year, I think we had 6, maybe the year before that or the year before that, we had 8. So we've done both. But we're gonna request 8 instead of 6, correct, Jeff? Correct. Workers with 2, just doing floors specifically,
Of the 8, 2 will be floor restoration positions.
to get summer work done.
And we have several larger projects than normal that we're going to be trying to tackle with our own people. One being the extended sidewalk project at the elementary school, and the other being the parent drop-off loop at the middle school, as well as potentially, if budgets line up and we get approval, putting together our own additional maintenance building for equipment down here if we get that far. So a little bit bigger stuff than we normally have done. So asking for a couple additional folks to fill out those maintenance crews so we can hopefully get it done. And my thoughts are, since we're not paying part of that student work crew that we paid in the past, some of that will offset the additional 2 positions that we're requesting for summer maintenance.
So you're not asking for any students?
No.
And we'd have to pay 100% if we did the students.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion?
That could be considered, I guess, if y'all,
I mean,
you'd have to pay Jimmy and then all the students.
I've been wanting to look at the budget for quite a while, and it's coming up on us when we gotta approve it. This year's gonna coincide with what Randy has allotted in the budget for summer project.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a big item. Like you said, some of the other
What I'm
offset
saying
it
is
too.
the difference in what we covered for the student program, okay, is going to, I can't say dollar for dollar, but it's going to fairly closely offset adding 2 positions.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
I remember when the gentleman come last year, he said it'd probably be the last year before the summer, student work program. And I just was curious if Randy had a lot of that money in the budget
Oh,
to give this year.
I understand, okay. I don't know that she did or not, but I can find out. I don't know.
I mean, we don't have to hire him right away anyway.
Okay.
We still have a little time, correct?
Sure,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
But I would just, the only concern I have is the budgetary concern.
And of course, she's been off on,
Right.
When did she come back?
well, she hasn't told us yet. Hey, Lori,
Yes.
did she give you any indication, Randy, when she might be back?
No.
So far to none of us. But we'll have some other things to do.
Are you, maybe I'm asking you a question that's, you're not aware of, do you know if she included anything as far as summer maintenance in the budget for,
I don't know if she did or not.
okay.
We can find that out. Like you say, it's still early.
All right, so any other discussions? Motion's made, second. All in favor? Four ayes, a nay,
Yeah.
one nay. Finance budget supplement transfer, Superintendent Kaufman.
I guess I would ask Lori, do we have a supplement or transfer?
No.
Okay, not that we're aware of.
No information to report on the budget supplement transfer fiscal year 2015 audit report. Superintendent Kaufman.
Yeah, it gives me great pleasure to bring Mr. Luis back. Chris is a veteran, and he wants to, of course, Lori's here too, and he's going to talk a little bit about this year's audit. And Chris, we appreciate you coming and hanging in here and sitting through our meeting.
No problem. I'm Chris DeWeese, I'm partner with Sullivan Stoniker, performed the audit this year. And you should have two packages in front of you, and I'll just give a brief presentation of kind of the highlights. Then we're going to go through the one that's a little thicker, the final statement of financials, the thicker document that you have. Be titled there, Daughters County Board of Education Financial Statements with Additional Information. And I'll just point out a couple of the highlights. Management prepares these financial statements on an annual basis, so your finance team pulls this information together. And we're responsible, even though everything's bound, we're actually responsible for 3 reports in here. Those are on pages 4 and 6. We'll start there, then I'll point out the other reports that we provide. On page 4 is the independent auditor's report. This is, as a board, what you are most concerned about. And there's 4 levels of opinions that you can receive. The best opinion is what we call the unmodified opinion, and that's the opinion that you received. If you turn over to page 5, second paragraph, you'll see, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. And that is what we call the unmodified opinion, which means your financial statements are not materially misstated.
Where's that again? This
Sixth paragraph,
page 5.
page 5, yes.
We encounter no significant that statement? Or?
In the very first sentence, in our opinion, the financial statements refer to, the other document, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, the bigger one there.
Sorry.
No problem. Page 5 on that.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Another thing I'll point out to you, in the next paragraph below that, there was a change in accounting principle. This was the first year that you were required to adopt Government Accounting Standards Board's number 68. That was the new accounting pronouncement that came out from the government. And you basically recorded your portion of the net pension liability that was given to you from the state. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a few minutes, what that did to your financial statements. Any question on that?
That very first thing you said, Chris, it's the word what?
Unmodified.
Unmodified.
Yes, unmodified. Yeah, if I had to give you what we call a disclaimer of opinion, that would be, we'd probably go into executive session.
There you go.
So, page 7 begins what we call management's discussion analysis, and that runs through page 15. Kind of gives you a summary of what happened during the year, kind of hits the financial highlights, a little overview of the financials. If you turn to page 9, it's a really good side-by-side comparison of 2015 versus 2014. And this is what we call your statement of net position, or your balance sheet if you were in the commercial world. And you can see current and other assets increased from 5.7 million up to 7 million. And that increase, about 1.3 million, was primarily because you've got been fortunate with the oil and gas tax revenues. You've got your deposits and your revenue are up there. Capital assets, pretty consistent from the previous year. That, of course, includes depreciation, offsetting any additions that you had. And then deferred outflows. You'll see there was nothing in deferred outflows for 2014. That was the same thing. If you look down below, about 5 lines down, you'll see net pension liability, proportionate share, and deferred inflows. Those are all new items that were with the new accounting principle. And we'll cover that here in just a second. The current and other liabilities increased by about $776,000. That was primarily, you had some capital projects going on with the gymnasium and the class additions. So you had some additional accounts payable right there at the end of the year, just the timing of when those got paid. And then your long-term liabilities decreased primarily to your bond payments and your capital expenses there. Then we get to the new item, which is the bigger item, the net pension liability. And this was the first year of this GASB. All the boards of education, all state government, all higher education entities had to adopt this new accounting principle. And basically, the retirement board took the teacher's retirement liability and they divvied it out between everybody that participates in that liability, similar to what they did with OPEB a few years ago. And you can see your portion of that liability was $1,358,495. That is recorded. Of course, that will change every year based upon the actuarial valuations that get done by this Consolidated Retirement Board. Then the last few items there, net position, your net investment in capital assets, that's your buildings, land, property, and then your restricted net assets, which would be any grants that you have in possession that you have to spend down, or it could be excess tax revenues if you had any there. And then your unrestricted or your fund balance, your unrestricted fund balance there, $1.859. Any questions? Any highlights? If not, page 10. Page 10 is the comparison of the statement of activity or the income statement if it was in the commercial world. Really very comparable, just a few items there that I'll point out. Your capital grants and contributions decreased from the prior year. You had a little bit of SBA revenue in 2014. Didn't have as much in 2015. And then, of course, the big swing, property tax revenues, as we mentioned, from the oil and gas, up $1.8 million over the prior year. Because you got an increase in property tax revenues, you also had a decrease in unrestricted state aid. So that was down about $1.4 million. That also was declined because the new GASB had a little change the way that gets recorded, so that's also part of that decline. Skipping on down to total expenses, very comparable to the prior year, 18.3 in 2014 versus 18.1 in 2015. So total expenses remain pretty consistent year on year. And that brings you down to your final ending net position of approximately $25 million for 2015. Any questions, comments? I'm not going to go through a lot of the detail. If you're having trouble sleeping, pages 16 through 52 will hear that extremely quickly.
Sleep rather quick.
Unfortunately, government accounting standards have become more complex. These documents, when I first started, were probably 25 pages, and now you can see we're pushing 80 pages in documents. I will take you to the back and point out a couple items here, back on pages 66 and 67. Pages 66 is what we call the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. That is a summary schedule that is required to be included, that gets delivered to the federal government so that they know how much federal dollars you spent. Most of your federal dollars, of course, passes through from the West Virginia Department of Education. But you can see there the various programs, the National School Lunch Program, Child Nutrition Cluster, Special Education, Title I, Career in Education, right on down through there. We tested, we're required to test, and we tested this year the Special Education Program and the Title II Improving Teacher Quality State Grants. Those were the two federal programs that we audited this year. We're required every year to do a risk assessment on those programs and select several of those programs to actually test compliance to make sure you are compliant with those. Pages 68 through 69 on our letterhead. Page 68 is our independent auditor report on internal control and compliance. compliance or matters in accordance with government auditing standards. We look here for different compliance items and internal control items. We did note one item. It's down at the bottom, 2015-01. We'll cover that here in just a second. We had that as a internal control finding and a compliance finding. And then if you turn over to page 70, this is our independent auditor's report on compliance and internal control over the federal programs in accordance with OMB Circular 8133. And at the top of page 71, you'll see our opinion on each major federal program. And this was the unmodified opinion, or the best opinion that you can receive for your federal programs. It says, in our opinion, the board complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements. And then at the bottom of that page, next to the last paragraph, last sentence, there were no internal control deficiencies or deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be material weaknesses, so there were no control findings with the federal programs. Positive statement there. Any questions on those? Got one other item there. It's on page 75. I mentioned the finding there. I think everybody's probably pretty well aware of this issue. It's purchasing procedures, and that related to the invoice for the excavation services back during the year, and the bullet points of the non-compliance items there that we identified. And then, of course, we had a recommendation, and then management provided their response there on at the top of page 76. I do appreciate, as auditors, as soon as this issue became known, we were contacted. I appreciate that. That lets us just deal with the issue.
I think I called you the next day.
Yep, it's happened, it's done. I think everyone's learned from it and move on down the road. We, of course, done some audit work related to that and feel comfortable with the results of where it was. Any other questions on that document? The second document you have, which is the thin document, this is what we call the report to the governing board. We're supposed to provide to you certain required communications, and those begin on page 4 of that document. And there's nothing in here that I need to point out specifically to your attention. If there were any issues with management, if there were any concerns we had, we would be required to put those in here and, of course, disclose that to you. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. There are some estimates. Anytime you prepare financial statements, there's going to be estimates on page 7. List those estimates and what management's policy is, and then that we agree with those policies and the processes used to test those. Estimates include depreciation on capital assets, your receivables, and then, of course, your OPEB, which is the other post-employment benefit liability, and then the net pension liability that we talked about. Other than that, there are a few other what we call management comments. They're on page, we start on page 12. It'll be our letterhead addressed to the board. We just had a few management points, nothing significant, that we pointed out on that page and then the following page, starting there at the bottom with indirect cost. And the next page, capital asset depreciation, there was adjustments and immaterial adjustments to capital assets. Controls over payroll, we recommended a couple changes there in the process for payroll. And then the last two items related to information technology controls, user authorization and removal, and annual access review. So again, the rest of these documents are just items we're required to attach the engagement letter and the management representation letter. We're just required to give those to the board of governors. Any questions, comments?
I want to say personally, we thank you for, your extra help, when we got that one invoice late, and we appreciate all your guidance on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
long as you say we're good, it's good.
I was gonna say, I
good news,
think
huh?
I won't read this all this evening.
So no action is being made since informational items, correct?
I don't think we need any action, just, we're required to do this. I don't know that we need action on doing it, Chris.
Some boards do accept the report. I don't
Okay.
think you're required to.
Well, do y'all want to do that? You want me to make that recommendation? Okay, I'll just recommend as presented by Chris Deweese, that we accept that report.
Mr. Bill made the motion, Mr. Burnside, second, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Next is employment salary
We
increase.
appreciate you coming up. Drive careful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we at?
Employee salary increase,
Okay, yeah, I think I would request we go into executive session for that.
hold down also,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
hold down. Personnel resignations.
I think we've got one coming, but we haven't received it yet on middle school football. But I expect that to
Retirements,
be not that we're aware of.
employment,
Yeah, and you're aware of both of these because they've been posted, and my recommendation for the first one, of course, for full-time athletic director at DCHS would be Mr. Greg Moe.
move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Head volleyball coach, Doris County Middle School.
I don't know why, I had 4 of these.
Donnie, I probably had one.
So moved.
Yeah, we of course interviewed 3 different ones. Really, any of the 3 would have done a good job. But what come out of the interview, and is who I will recommend, is Amy Spurlock.
Mr. Bell made the motion. Second, Mr. Burnside. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Leave request.
I don't think we have any, do we? I think we're gonna get one of those too, but just don't have it yet.
Other,
Not that I'm aware of.
none for the record report. Informational items.
When we go into executive session for those 2 items, I'm gonna give you some correspondence, to follow up those first 2 items. And I'll give you that and we'll talk about it. And that's all I have. You have anything, Joe?
For A and B.
Yes.
Yes, A and B. I think B you might already have in your packet, but I've got some for A for sure. Like letters. We got.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go to executive session under 69A4 to discuss legal. Let's see, informational items A and B per Superintendent Kaufman under legal, finance, employee salary increase, item number C, and hiring of superintendent administration. Does anybody understand? Second, Mr. Culver.
3:12.
All in favor? 5-0.
Just the cool,